Hello everyone. It's been a few months since I have shared a video with you, so I want to do a little bit of an update on what I have been up to, some of the decks that I've been using, and there's not many changes in the journals that I'm using, so I probably won't share about that, but I do want to do a different video where I do a reading in my creativity journal. So for right now, I want to share some new decks that I have been using. For the first half of this year, I wasn't really buying many decks or wasn't using decks either. So I was happy about that. At the end of last year, I did buy a few decks. They were the Akamara Tarot and some other decks by the same creator, which I will share in a different video. But these ones that I have bought recently and have been using, some are old that I have shared before, but the first one that I bought this year, I guess, was this one, the Mausolea Oracle of Souls. I saw a review a while ago, sorry about the glare, by Queen Aset or Oh Yes Girl here on YouTube, and I have also seen this oracle shared in other channels, so I was definitely curious about it, and it was on my list. So it was on sale on Amazon for like $13 a few weeks ago or months ago, so I decided to buy it. And after not buying decks for months and then buying one, I became tempted to buy others. So there's a few others that I have bought that I'll share about. But this one so far, it's like color wise is a darker deck. Also content wise, I would say it's a darker deck. Let me see if maybe I can see if there's a glare, and try to not give you the glare so much. I felt that it had a good mixture of beings that are not very common in other I hope that the light is like right above me. A good mixture of beings that you don't see in other decks, which is something that I'm always looking for, because sometimes the decks, they seem repetitive. So I'll just flip through a little bit. So that's the Mausolea Oracle of Souls. I bought it because I do like having decks that are different. Like, I don't like just having a bunch of very positive decks. I like some decks that have like variety, or a good mixture of good, not good and bad, but like light and dark. Challenging messages are also important. Let's see. So for example, this one is Abaddon, Overlord of the Abyss, and the keywords are pestilence, corruption, and malice. So I think it's important to have cards or images and symbols that you work with that are also challenging, because that is how life is. There are light and dark things out in the world. It's good to have decks that are very like supportive and positive when you need that kind of energy, but sometimes you also need a deck that gives you some challenge, because through the challenge is how you're going to learn about what needs to change, what needs to be done. So I really like the images also. They're very like fantasy video game kind of images, and the illustrator is Jason Engo. I believe he is a game designer. So I wanted to read the introduction.
Laptop.
It's downstairs in the backpack.
It's downstairs in the backpack.
Alright, so let me read the introduction here. Mausolea, Oracle of Souls. Death comes to all mortals, and when their time is upon them, it is but a beginning, a door to another world. Mausolea is a vision of the world beyond, the place our souls may travel to after death. It is a place that is knit together from many of the stories that exist in all corners of the ancient world, full of heroes and gods of myth and legend. It is the true essence of these personalities and the stories they inhabit that is intended to lend insight and reveal hidden truths for our own lives and the path we travel. The spirit world of Mausolea is comprised of countless realms, and this deck includes 6 of these great kingdoms, each a reflection of our own world. And from each of these has been selected 6 inhabitants who best represent certain qualities and ideals. It is the power of these personalities and traits that illuminate the path before you. 2 methods may be useful for reading with these cards: the Way of Paths and the Great Wheel. So I haven't done these spreads, but I have been pulling like one card every few days, not every day, and then just reading the keywords, reading the story. And so far I am happy with this deck. I think that I want to use it in the way that it's talked about in the book with the spreads it's sharing, because I feel that that would be a good way to connect with the deck. So maybe after I do that I can share another video. But this is the Mausolea Oracle of Souls, which was the first deck I have purchased this year. And this is the background. The glare is so glaring. Another, maybe I'll share the ones that I bought recently, and then I'll share some that I have been using that are not new. I purchased these 2 from Amazon because they were on sale. This one had been on my wish list for quite some time, so when I saw it on sale I decided to get it. It's the Seed and Sickle Oracle deck. I was really intrigued by this deck because it has 2 guidebooks. It's one set of cards, but there's like 2 different ways to interpret the cards. So the Dawn guidebook says that it's a good, use this guidebook if you are starting a new project or want information about starting something, building a new relationship, focusing on revitalizing yourself. And then the Dusk guidebook is supposed to be used for when you need help tending to something, to your body, to your relationships, to your mind. So I thought that was an interesting concept, and I have this is the first time I have a deck from this publisher, Liminal 11, and I think the box design is really interesting. I'll flip through some of the cards just very quickly. Hopefully they're in the right order. I really like the images. Well, not in the right order, but at least not upside down. I like the images. It's introduced me to some plants that I was not familiar with, so that has been good. I also like the variety and color. It feels like a 4-season kind of deck, not just one that you would pull out in the winter or the spring. So I'm really happy that I got this one. I have been using it by just pulling a card per day, or also I'm going to be using it to help me like choose a plant that I want to connect with more. And something interesting, because of the packaging, sometimes I think that you can make a decision about which guidebook to use, but something else that I have been thinking as a possibility is that whatever guidebook comes out first is like the one you should look at. So I was putting them each on one side of the deck like this, so then when you're like unboxing it, you can see whichever one comes up, if you're not like looking at it and then choosing the one that you want, which is fine if you know what kind of message you want. But if you feel like you want to add a little bit of like synchronicity or not unintentionality, but if you want to just like let the book decide for you which one is needing to be read, you could do that. Maybe you can close your eyes. So very happy with the Seed and Sickle Oracle deck. This one is also by the same publisher, so it has a similar boxing situation, and so far I don't mind that. Sometimes I forget the order or like the right way to put in the box, which I think could be a problem. Anyway, this is the Cosmic Slumber Tarot. Can you see it? This one I had been interested in since I saw it, but it wasn't super high on my list of decks to get. But as I mentioned, it was on sale in Amazon for I think like $15. This one and the Seed and Sickle Oracle. So I got it, and I really like the colors. I also really like that it's like a dreamy tarot deck. So I think it will be very helpful and useful in working with dream images. And even the images in the card, it does follow the Rider-Waite Smith, but it has this like dreamy feeling to it, which makes sense because it's the Cosmic Slumber. I haven't used it for storytelling. I've used it to pull like a card as a message. I haven't done a big reading with it, but I really like how the images are drawn, and I like the bright colors so far. So also some of the suits are changed, their names are changed. So for example, the torches, the cups are the same, pentacles are the same, and swords are the same. So it's just torches that was changed. Yeah, so I really do like this one. I will be sharing a reading I did with this deck in a different video. So these are some of the new ones that I have gotten recently. Now I'm going to share some others that I'm using, but they're not new. A while ago I talked about the Lantern Oracle, I believe. I have used it pretty consistently. This one, the book recommends to use the deck for 40 days. I think I did use it for 40 days, but not drawing like one card each day. It was more like I would draw a card per week, sit with it, see how it was coming up in my life throughout the week, and then make some notes about it. I think the images are really beautiful, and the keywords and messages are unique. So that's something that I look for in decks. There are so many decks out there. I feel like they can get repetitive. So this one definitely feels like it's different. The images are different. I just noticed this one as somebody who has had surgery, a mastectomy. There's older people in the deck. There's people of different ethnicities. So that's something that is also important for me in decks. The guidebook is also really good. It's kind of like I think the person who made it is a counselor or psychologist, because it definitely does feel like a little bit of therapy, even with the questions that it asks you to reflect on. And it's not like a super long description, but it has a lot of good information. So the deck is broken down in the different phases of womanhood. there's the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. I think there's more actually. Maiden, Mother, Guardian, and Crone. And each one is assigned to an element. So it says that each sphere of feminine energy speaks to a stage in our human development and spiritual evolution. The Lantern Oracle invites you to call upon her throughout your journey and shadow work for loving light where clarity, growth, assistance, and healing is needed. It's published by Blue Angel, and it is a very good deck for when you feel like stuck. It can be used for shadow work, but also if you just maybe are struggling with something and you don't even know what it is. This deck has given me really good messages to help me understand why I'm feeling so, however it is that I'm feeling. Angry, sad, sometimes I feel like meh or bleh. The Lantern Oracle by Angelina Mirabito, illustrated by Julie Alejo. And this one is the Sovereign Oracle by Teresa Pridemore. I bought this one a few years ago. I mostly use it with my creativity journal, this one, in the Communion with the Muse spread, and I use it as the cards for how to take creative action. This one is also, I feel like, kind of a unique deck. Each card has the keyword, but then it also has 3 different additional information that you can use to get your message. I like how they look. I like how small they are. The images in the back are really nice as well. And even though they do seem text heavy, I like words, so I like using it and seeing how the words align with the rest of the cards that I might be using, or how maybe one of the statements in each card speaks to me more. There's also like different colors, so I think you could also use it as like tuning into the color of the card that you drew. I believe this one's still available on demand through Indiegogo. And it came with 2 other ones, 2 other smaller like extension packs that I also use, but I mainly use this main one. So the Sovereign Oracle, 93 card oracle deck with words and prompts to guide creative endeavors. Then last but not least is this Lenormand deck. A few weeks ago, I listened to a podcast episode in the Rune Soup, and Gordon White was talking about his Lenormand deck, Fool's Fortune, I think it's called. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I should pull out my Lenormand deck as well. So then I started looking up some YouTube videos to help me refresh my memory about Lenormand. And I have been using it every day for a few weeks now, by pulling two cards and trying to make a sentence with them. And I have an intention of using it for the next month, expanding to maybe like 3 cards and trying out some of the longer spreads. I'm also reading a few books. Let me see if I can find them. I'm reading them on my Libby app. So I'm reading the Learning Lenormand by Marcus Katz and Tally Goodwin. And there was a part in the book where they say to use the language of the Lenormand. I'm sorry about the fast swiping. So a spread is a tableau, not a spread. A reading is not a sitter is, so this one sorry, it's giving you the correct Lenormand terminology to use, different than the tarot terminology. So for example, you would call somebody who's coming to get a Lenormand reading a sitter, not the querent. You would call the person doing the reading a sibyl, not a reader. You call a spread a tableau, and then a layout is a beignet. So this is one of the books that I'm reading. I also have I put a hold on the Lenormand, the Essential Lenormand book by Rana George, which I've heard is really good. So I've seen that Lenormand has been popping up in other people's mind as well, so I think that's interesting. It's definitely like a fall kind of deck, and it is different than tarot. Even like the feeling that I get when reading it is different because it can be so straightforward, and with the tarot I feel like there's so much interpretation you could do, but with the Lenormand there's not a lot of interpretation. This deck, I really like it. I bought it during a time when I was really into Ciro Marchetti's decks. I like that it's gilded. I like the size. Something I don't like is that the cards are kind of crowded, and for somebody who's new to Lenormand like me, even though I've had Lenormand decks for a while, sometimes it can be hard to know what something is. This one's pretty clear that it's the birds, the ship, stork. This one I thought it was a castle, but it's the tower. So they're pretty clear, but there are a few that are kind of confusing, like this one. Now that I've seen it, I know this is the writer, but I thought maybe it was the messenger, which is what the writer is, or the letter. Anyway, so I have been using this one every day. I just pulled 2 cards and tried to make a sentence with them, with the keywords. And that's it for decks that I have been using. I want to try making like combining different decks and doing more spreads for myself so that I can use all the decks that I have. If I am successful in that, I will share some of the different pairings. I do like watching people's pairing videos, and I do also like watching people's videos of how they have combined decks, so I might do that as well. But for now, this is just something I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that you guys have been doing well, and thank you for tuning in. See you later.